In a world crying out for a top 10 show, John Roca and Matt Nost are here. So grab your assigned seat, sit back, and enjoy this week's Top 10. Brought to you by the Schmoes Know Network. Take it away, boys.
Welcome, everybody, to the inaugural episode of, the Blunderdome.
Blunderdome.
This is a fan-based idea, which we both absolutely loved.
No, I threw this out on air.
Oh, so you did, I thought someone came up with the name.
Oh, the name, yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
Blunderdome.
Yeah.
It's Kyle Harlow, I believe.
Yeah, Kyle Harlow came up with the name. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
no, the idea of pitting two films to shit on, definitely we talked about it on the air,
like on
so
another
yeah.
Thunderdome. It's like, you know what would be fun sometime? Is just picking two shit movies and
Yeah.
just having a let's make fun of this fucking terrible movie.
Right.
And we both smiled and we're like, all right, well, that's a show idea. Sure, why not?
But we picked an interesting one to start off with Striptease versus Showgirls. By the way, I'm John Roca.
I'm Matt Nost.
This is the Top 10 show,
Yeah.
Top 10 podcast, and anyway, so we wanted to do that, but it was interesting. I thought this was a fun one to choose because this is one from back in the 90s, and the people who listen to us are a little bit younger.
There's no way we've talked about these movies.
Yeah, there's no way we've talked about.
That was
these
the one thing that
movies.
popped in my head. I was like, wow, these haven't even. I think Striptease you might have mentioned at one point.
Yeah, probably. I'm
just
sure.
talking about like Demi Moore.
Yeah.
And it was on because it came up and I was like, wow, I haven't. As soon as you did it, I just flashed to Burt Reynolds and I was like, I haven't seen that movie. And I vaguely remember thinking it was asinine at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they haven't come up. And a bunch of people sent in when we announced like, oh, this would be a good idea. I
Yeah.
think this idea came from Gumperschnickel from YouTube.
Gumperschnickel.
He sent a huge list.
Okay.
So when I texted you,
of the Blunderdome choices.
Blunderdome. So he called it, I think,
nice.
just Shitfest,
Right.
Like top, Thunderdome Shitfest or something.
Right.
And a bunch of people sent in ideas,
Yeah.
and they all titled it different things. But I think Kyle's was the Blunderdome, and I was like, wow, I told you that.
Yeah.
I was like Blunderdome, and you're like, that sounds good.
It's perfect.
It is.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm excited to do this. I am not going to spend time watching two terrible movies every week. So I'm glad we're going to space these out.
Okay.
Because I got enough to watch that throwing in 4 hours of two terrible movies is tough.
Unless
some
it's-
of the choices.
Unless it's super close.
Yes.
Like you can usually tell within 24 hours because 80% of the votes come in the first probably like 12 hours.
Right.
But if you just check the next
to
day,
see which one is going to win.
yeah, I already
Right.
know, like, okay, unless something crazy happens, this
Yeah.
one's up by, a huge margin.
Right.
So it'd have to be nuts, and then I'll just watch that one.
Yeah.
And so far, the system hasn't failed me because everyone that's close, I have waited until the end.
Yeah.
But this one, it was just like, all right, this clearly is a trajectory I'm
Yeah.
going to watch.
So we're not sure how many people are going to listen to this one, but we thought it'd be a fun one to choose these two movies to pit against each other. And for me personally, I've seen them multiple times for various reasons.
I've seen.
And my experience with this was, at the time, the chance to see Demi Moore naked absolutely signed me up. And then the chance to see Jesse Spano naked from Saved by the Bell signed me up.
Yeah, that
So
one
I
meant
went
more
see
to
both
me
of them.
because
Yeah.
I watched Saved by the Bell.
Oh, yeah.
That was on getting home in like 8th grade, freshman year, right when I get home from school.
Yep.
And be like, wow, I'll pop that on. Yeah, and it's so weird, like where Lark Voorhees has ended up
Oh, gosh.
is so strange to me because she occupies a certain part of whatever that time in your. It's not quite adolescence. It's not quite whatever you're young, a preteen.
Sure.
I guess that'd be a tween now.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines.
Some term like that.
But yeah, the idea of Jesse, like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that was enough to draw me in.
Sweet, wholesome Jesse.
Exactly. Going completely against her type.
Really was, man. Which is
And-
funny because it seems like a lot of those kids back then, a lot of those younger actors and actresses, purposely did these harder type films to break out of.
Yeah, they're shedding their image.
Right. But nowadays, it's I don't know if it still is a taboo thing, because most of the time they crashed and burned when they try to do that. You know?
Oh, without a doubt.
And so, but it seems more acceptable now. Like you got Selena Gomez in something like Spring Breakers, or a couple, and Hathaway doing something like Havoc, where she was full on naked and having sex with Jay Rodriguez.
They built to that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So these were like such extreme choices back then. Some of these actors, younger actors and actresses, would make these extreme choices, and it always ended up blowing up in their faces.
Well, especially with our winner.
Yeah.
Of Showgirls. To make this choice, and you're like, I get it. It's off of Basic Instinct.
Yeah.
It's the same writer. It could bring so much attention to you because you know eyes are going to be on it because there's going to be a lot of sex in this. So people are going to watch just for that alone.
Yeah.
It worked for, it's worked for other movies, but Basic Instinct was huge. It made Sharon Stone a star.
It really did.
So if you're, Jesse.
Yeah.
Going, that's how she exists in my head. Yes, I realize she's a real person.
Elizabeth Berkley.
It is.
We
but
all know her name. Yeah.
She didn't do anything thereafter.
Not really.
So she's still Jessie to me.
Yeah, kind of.
And she doesn't pop up like Lark Voorhees does in my Facebook feed or something. Like, check out Lisa Turtle today. And you're like, oh my God.
What happened here?
Yeah, just bleached your face so much. It's just scary. You don't look anything like you used to look.
I know. It's a little, and when you hear the stories about her and you go and watch the shows, you'll catch, because I'll occasionally catch them and watch like 5 minutes or something as I'm flipping channels. And I'm like, oh, you seem so cool. And in what's happening here, like, why couldn't you just sit on your money and just relax? Like, I don't understand why people go nuts. Like, enjoy your money and fucking be normal. But I guess whatever, family life or whatever the life of Hollywood can mess with you, I don't know.
And somebody who was a teenager, then they became, famous, so to speak.
Yes.
They're famous to a certain group of people.
Yeah.
But still famous nonetheless. And you made, I have no idea, but a decent amount of money.
Sure.
Yeah. I just don't know if they got syndication money thereafter.
God, I would hope so. Unless they have the shittiest agents on the planet.
Yeah, but it was, I don't know. It was at a time where, do you give that to something that is direct to cable anyway?
Yeah.
Maybe.
And it's funny. Yeah, I guess so, 'cause it's funny because, like, Screech went off the rails. That guy, Dustin Diamond, went off the rails. Voorhees pretty much went off the rails. You don't see much from Tiffany Amber Thiessen. I mean, she got married and she's got kids. And
she works
been,
intermittently.
Yeah, she's been in stuff.
Yeah.
But nothing of any real note.
I mean, did she do Melrose or 90210?
Oh, yeah, she did Melrose. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember her on that. I was like, oh, I never watched that show. I never watched Beverly Hills 90210. I know people that are our age that just still guilty pleasure watch it.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't watch it the first go around, but all right. It just seemed like bad acting and bad storylines and shit I just do not give a fuck about.
But yeah, I had to work on them when I was doing the old DVD testing job, and I would sit and watch the old Melrose Places. The old Melrose Places hold up a lot better than the old 90210s.
Okay.
Because it's just more mature subject matter.
It is.
So it is, yeah, you're right. The acting is not on the high level, but they still like maintain your attention. Like, I got caught up in the storylines.
Okay.
And was like, okay, am I doing the next disc? Because I want to know what happens with this. You got caught up in that.
Start calling out shifts. Oh, nobody wants this one? I'll take that. I got no problem with that.
In German? Done.
Yeah, sure.
What are the subtitles? All right, good. I'm in. So things like that. But no, it was an interesting time because she was right. She's coming off of Saved by the Bell. She hadn't really done much, and she makes a decision. It's Paul Verhoeven, who, like you were saying, had done Basic Instinct and also Total Recall.
Well, yeah, and it was also Esterhaus, the writer.
Rob Esterhaus. Yeah, exactly.
And I remember that coming out. I was like, oh, the writer. So it's going to be built in from day one.
Yeah.
They're still trying to sell. I was assuming something along the Basic Instinct line where there's kind of a murder whodunit.
Yeah.
That kind of intrigue, which there was none of in this movie.
It was all catty things.
It was weird. I thought we were just whatever. We were talking about Melrose in 90210. I cannot look at Shannon Doherty now and not try and see the Picasso that is her face. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Where the eyes don't line up. I can't anymore.
Yeah,
Once someone pointed it out to me, I never noticed.
Yep.
And then someone pointed it out and I was like, holy shit, every time I see you now, I'm just trying to look at that.
Yeah.
It's so strange. I never noticed, and now I can't not notice.
I never understood people's thing for her. Like, I never got it. Like, for me, Jenny Garth, all day and all night.
I didn't like
Doherty,
it.
Never.
Any of the three, I didn't.
Definitely a Tori Spelling, my God.
Yeah.
No, you want to talk about Picasso.
None of them ever did anything for. Just the Doherty, the eyes being so offset. Just like, how did I miss this? For she was on that Wilford Brimley show as a kid.
Oh yeah,
that's where I knew her from. Then I was like, oh, she's on 90210, and she was in my life for a long time.
Right.
And then she was famous in between there.
Yeah, then she did Charmed for
Yeah.
a couple of years.
And just like, I think it was around the Charm time someone pointed out, and I was like, wow, how have I never noticed that?
It's a weird thing, you know. I know we're going way off topic. It's what we do, but like, Charm thing's an interesting thing because I thought Doherty was actually good on the show. And
Okay.
they had chemistry with Alyssa Milano, and
Which is interesting because that's the fight that broke up
yes,
Doherty leaving.
Yes,
And they just killed her off.
yeah, exactly. And they brought in Rose McGowan, I think it was.
Okay.
And then you had Heather Marie Combs. So for me, because I was on the show, I did one episode of Charmed, and it was just 5 lines. It was no big deal. But like, you saw immediately, like she wasn't the kind of person that could handle like having any kind of rivals for attention. So it's such a weird thing. What are you doing in the city? Like it's going to happen.
Yeah,
but that's
it's inevitable.
That's such a 90s thing. Do you know what I'm saying? And so I don't think it happens quite the same. I think everybody understands now, like, you know, rivals are going to happen. Even, I mean, I guess the Juliana Margulies on The Good Wife, she had a lot of issues with Archie Punjabi, the Indian woman who was stealing her attention, they had a lot of problems, and which is why they like got her off the show, you know.
Huh.
So that kind of stuff does happen, I guess, but it's nowhere near as rampant, I think, as it was in the 90s, where there's all kinds of ego and all this kind of shit involved. And so it was interesting that Elizabeth Berkley decides to do Showgirls at this time in her life, because it's like, why don't you go and do more like dramatic fare, like establish yourself, build through it. But she decides to take such a left turn.
I think it was to take the moonshot. And be like, maybe I can do it.
Yeah.
I can skip a lot of the bullshit, do a high-profile piece. Everybody likes me in it because I know they're going to watch.
Yeah.
And bing, bang, boom, I'm an A-lister.
Right.
And it did not work.
It didn't really work. And the thing is, the film has got a good cast, right? You got a...
It's got, a better cast than I remembered.
Yeah.
When I watched it, I was like,
Gina Gershon.
Shit. Yeah.
The black dude from South Central. I can't remember the actor's name.
The pockmarked Latino actor. Could never remember his name.
Oh, yeah. Robert Davi.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, he was in Bond.
Bond movie. Right,
yeah.
exactly. And then
a quality Bond with Timothy Dalton.
Oh, God.
It is fantastic. If you haven't seen it, please go see
Please don't. And then Alan Rakins from L.A. Law. He plays the choreographer, the dance.
Oh, he is great.
Yeah.
He is great.
Yeah.
There's so many of like watching it because I haven't seen it since it came out.
Oh, okay.
I think I saw it on like VHS or DVD or whatever at the time. Like I didn't see it in the theater because I just heard it was god awful.
Yeah.
And no matter, we're like, yeah, there are boobs galore.
Right.
But that's not even enough to offset like how bad the movie is.
It really
isn't.
Not.
After a while, you just don't even care.
No, right, because that's the thing that's so fascinating about it. Like, I would see it for a matinee, but eventually you watch it and it's like after the sensation of seeing Elizabeth Berkley naked the first couple of times in the movie, eventually it just becomes not sexy at all. And it becomes like just kind of regular.
Because the character's so terrible.
Yes.
That you don't, there's numerous
care.
points. That was the interesting thing at the ending. After having watched it, like, I realized that at a certain point, and it made me appreciate it, I don't know if Elizabeth Berkley's acting choice was intentional.
Yeah.
Because it seems unintentional, but the problem is like the character is so scatterbrained and scattershot, and all these stupid things keep happening. You're like, why are you reacting like this? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But then you get to the end and you're like, well, a girl whose mom killed her dad, and then she turned to prostitution and crack, and eventually becomes a stripper that wants to be a showgirl and gets this meteoric rise. It actually makes sense why she would react in all these situations like this.
Sure.
But I don't think that was intended.
No.
At all, given how it was pulled off and all the other actors and the scenes, the way they were set up and everything. There was no artistry anywhere else. But I think unintentionally, she did a fantastic job with the character of, it would make sense. Every time where it doesn't make sense that she's doing this reaction, because her perspective on life is completely skewed because it's been fucked since who knows what age.
Yeah.
What age, whatever, her mom killed her dad because it couldn't have been a stable home life before then.
No.
So that progression in life would lead you to like all these, so many scenes where I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What the fuck is like, so when they're on the dance floor and there's the actor who was like, he was the lead, I think in South Central.
Yeah, the black guy.
Yeah, years later. He's got like dreads or whatnot. And she's skipping work. We don't know what her work is before this. She mentions, you know what, I want to skip work. Let's go to our favorite place, and they go dancing.
Glenn Plummer, that's the actor.
Okay,
sorry. So we don't.
And he's off on the side, and he's like, "Yo, she can dance," like talking to his buddy, but she can't. I'm going to go teach her a thing. And who walks up and tells her, "Is like, you don't know how to dance," and she's trying to like, I don't know, be some sort of figure in her life.
It's so
and
weird.
then, like, all her moves are the same. It's these hyper aggressive. She's got static jazz hands that move around and shit like that. And then she ends up kicking him in the balls and gets arrested, and he bails her out the next day, and he's like, how about a cup of coffee? And then she gets a quarter from her friend who picks her up and flicks at him and says, go get your own fucking coffee. And then it just builds to this. He makes a dance for her, and they go back to his place, and it's this weird sexual tension out of nowhere, and he sticks his hand down her pants because she's like, oh, she stops him, and she's like, oh, it's that time of the month, but trust me, she says it much more crass. Ugh. And he still puts his hand down there. She's like, go ahead, check it out. And you're like, oh, what the fuck is going on in this? And then she storms out of there because he wants to sleep with her. And he's trying to tell her, like, I made this dance for you. And then later on, she gets hired as a showgirl and runs to his place at God knows what time. Yeah. We haven't heard the character's name once, the guy.
Right.
So then she's banging on the door saying his name. And he opens the door and he's sleeping with somebody else. Yeah. And she gets pissed off.
Right.
And you're like, what? You've literally spent 35 seconds with this guy in your life. Why are you pissed off right now? Yeah. Like, genuinely upset.
Yeah.
Because he promised to make a dance for you, and now he's doing it with somebody else because she would have slept with him.
Right.
But they end up getting married, so it makes him a better person.
It's weird, man.
It's
a fucked up film.
Makes no sense.
Right.
Left and right and left and right.
And we're supposed to be handed her as some kind of innocent protagonist in this world full of sharks and vipers, but she has already bite. Yeah. She already has a harder edge to her. She isn't
than the average person.
Yeah, she isn't some Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz stepping off the bus for the first time. She already has a harder edge from her upbringing, from her character basics. And so what?
None of that translates in the first half of the story.
Right.
So, like, when she gets picked up, she hitches that ride. As soon as she gets in the truck, the opening scenes is she pulls out a knife, and the guy's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And he's like this knockoff Elvis mixed with, what was the guy that sang Wicked Games?
Oh, Chris Isaac.
Chris Isaac. It's like a mix of those two. And he's on his way to Vegas. So then they get there, and he convinces her just by saying, hey, let's go talk to my uncle at the Riviera to leave her suitcase in there. So then it ends up he steals her suitcase. When she goes inside, he gives her a $10 bill. But what did you expect to get out of that suitcase? Yeah. Like, I don't understand.
You can't have a hard edge and be...
naive?
Naive, right. Yeah. You can't play both sides.
Yeah, but then she comes back and she freaks out.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the truck is gone and this woman comes over to help her and she freaks out in that woman's face. And for whatever reason, that woman just keeps being nicer and nicer. And what? Who does that to a stranger? Who? In Vegas.
In Vegas.
In Vegas. There are so many people that I have avoided in Vegas. Yeah. Like, I'm not fucking talking. If I saw somebody freaking out... Hell no. I do not want to, because Vegas attracts...
Vegas here in L.A., I won't do that.
Yeah, anywhere.
Vegas,
anywhere. Somebody's freaking out in the parking lot of what I believe is the Circus right across from the Riviera.
Yeah, yeah.
There's red flags all over that.
Right.
Fucking Circus. You ever been there?
Yeah.
It's a nightmare.
It's an unsettling place.
It's a fucking nightmare. Yeah. I stayed there my first time I ever went to Vegas when I was like 19.
Yeah.
And we rented a room. We weren't supposed to be allowed to because we had to be 21 to rent a room and all this shit. And they finally gave it to us. And it's like they have strip malls behind the casino itself. And our room had clowns on the wallpaper. So there's all these like 6 to 8 inch clowns like doing all these different poses. And like, oh my God, I'm glad I'm not scared of clowns because this is fucking crazy. We stayed there a night. Then we went to the Riviera.
Oh, nuts, man.
Yeah.
No, and then this whole thing is she wants to be a showgirl and wants to figure it out, and then you have Gina Gershon who's being like the classic twirling mustache evil diva for no reason at all, like no reason at all.
How many times have you been to Vegas?
4 times.
Have you ever seen a Showgirl Review?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know the lead dancer's name?
Nope.
Did they try and make it a point?
Nope.
To make it. She has her first performance. They get off. They have this huge, like, there's apparently 50 photographers at every Vegas hotel. Been to a lot of Vegas hotels. Unless there's like a huge fight or some shit like that.
They don't show up.
They don't show up.
There's no photographer.
No.
Yeah.
So the closing of the show, they got Gina Gershon, and one of the first questions asked her is, are you going to do Broadway next? Yeah, that's the progression. I'm the lead girl in a Showgirl Review by Broadway. I'm gonna walk the boards.
Catch me in Hamilton next month.
I'm taking on the fucking Bard next. I'm doing Shakespeare in the Park in New York. It's gonna be gorgeous. It made no fun. I was like, what? Hey, are you going to do Broadway? And then there's like 50 other questions. It's also like a news scrum from the 50s. Like, hey, look over here. See?
It's so terrible. Nobody gives a shit who the lead is in those fucking reviews.
And they're acting like when she gets hurt later on.
Yeah.
And they're talking about who they're going to get to replace her. Paula Abdul and I think Whitney Houston are the two names thrown out. Or maybe it was Janet Jackson. I was like, what? That's never going to happen in a million years. You couldn't offer them enough money to do a practically nude review.
Yeah.
7 shows a week.
Yeah, no.
For who knows how long.
Right.
It's going to cost you so much money. But those are the first 2 names. This is Vegas. We got to be classy. And you're like, what?
It's ironic if they had said J-Lo, because now she actually has a residency in Vegas as a performer.
Still different, though.
But different show. Right,
Different.
exactly. It's her show. It's a concert.
It's like Celine Dion at Caesars.
Yeah. Or Britney there now.
Yeah. They built her a huge, special thing, and she's clearing $100 million a year.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Or something ridiculous, and be like, hey, yeah, I get it. I understand why you do that. You don't have to tour.
Right.
You can just fly in, do a weekend of shows, and then fly home.
You're good. Yeah.
Yeah. That's all it is. And I'm sure you have an amazing penthouse suite or a huge mansion off the strip.
Totally.
One of the two.
Absolutely.
Either you want to live or maybe you have both.
Yeah.
Those nights you don't feel like driving the 2 miles back to your mansion.
Yeah.
You can just stay in your penthouse up top. But you're not getting that for a titty show.
Yeah. Listen.
It's
for anybody that's listening that has a sister or a mother or anyone related to them or a friend that does these shows, you understand. They're titty shows. There's no offense.
Oh, yeah.
There's artistry. There's choreography. I'm sure that the costumes.
It
the
is
lighting,
a step up. It's above stripper. It's above.
Yeah, I mean, you're there to tantalize the fucking crowd. You're not there to make the crowd go, oh, I got to get these people on a stage to be down in Poughkeepsie, do a touring thing. No, it ain't none of that.
Yeah.
I mean, even the Rockettes. The Rockettes who wear kind of scantily. They're scantily clad at times to show off their legs, but that's basically the only thing that's a touring review of these kinds where people show up to watch them
Anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't really happen that much anymore. But I mean, even at the time.
Even at the time, as I'm saying, yeah.
It didn't make sense. Unless it's like a Dita Von Teese.
Right, but
the
that's
one
burlesque.
that is exactly
That's something else.
It's still, but she's somehow gotten to the point where I know her name.
Yes.
And that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So if you got her for something, then I've heard of that name. I know who she is.
Yeah.
That's at least. But that's it.
Yeah.
There wasn't one of those in the 90s that I can recall.
No, me either, man.
So
I would think between the two of us, we could talk about what was in the pop culture. And at no point in the pop culture in the 90s
was there any
knowledge of who the lead is of whatever Vegas Showgirl Review show there is. At no point. Nor would you.
Yeah.
So all of that is ridiculous. I mean, I guess it's played for laughs. The whole Macau McLaughlin thing is so weird. And she's not sexy when she takes off her clothes or strips. She's like violent or aggressive.
She's always
with her nude body. And it's like, there's nothing sexy here. There's nothing you're trying to work out. You know what I'm saying? And then when people tried to turn this into a cult film, like tried to show it at midnight and make it a cult film, I was like, nah, you're just trying to shove a square peg into a round hole. This is not a cult film. There's nothing cool or fun or interesting or unique or for whatever reason
because
this film. It's a boring film.
Yeah, it is. For all the things that happen, it's it's an I don't care.
It really is.
Like, oh yeah, the dancers are catty with one another.
There's something new.
Yeah, exactly. And why would you have 15 feet of metal stairs that they have to run up and down in heels?
Another good question.
After every show.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like an insurance issue.
Put a slide in.
Right? Or an escalator.
It's something.
Or not even that. Yeah, I mean, or you don't even have to because they're ramps. So there's no shows that have like 15, 20 stairs to get up to that's ridiculous.
Metal stairs.
Stairs.
And because of the type of show it is, they're all wearing stiletto heels.
And shit,
It's
an insurance issue that literally you're courting a multi-million-dollar lawsuit from any one of these dancers by doing that bullshit. Yeah. It's so weird. And
there's just every point it comes up.
Yeah.
It's just like what?
Yeah.
What almost practically every single scene was like, I don't understand like the progression of this character and this character and this character and why they're interacting like this or why would they make these choices.
Yeah.
Just because everybody is making the easiest, most obvious choice at every turn.
Yes.
There's nobody putting any thought into anything, like the slimy entertainment lawyer guy. And that's the only note he knows.
Yep.
And the McLaughlin character is this other snaky, slimy guy.
Yep.
And the male singer that they bring in that just turns into a group rapist out of nowhere. This guy just turns crazy violent.
That's what I'm saying.
To provoke her then to give up this life that she doesn't apparently want.
Yeah.
That's the catalyst, finally.
Yeah.
It's she did this terrible thing that she actually was fine with.
Yeah.
And then saw her friend get, brutalized. So that opened her eyes to the realities of this business. And the whole hotel is like, we're going to cover this up.
Yeah, what?
This horrendous act. We're just going to trust, he's part of the family.
Shh, don't say anything.
Exactly. If you want to be part of the family, you're making good money, right? We don't say anything. That guy makes good money.
So it was like a bad episode of Silk Stockings or some shit from the 90s, man.
Yeah, it's just bad. I mean, over and over and over. Every time I'd sit down and be watching it, thinking about it, this doesn't make a fucking lick of sense.
Nope. Even her pushing Gina Gershon down the steps. Who doesn't have an asshole at work? Everyone's got an asshole or a female asshole at work. We've all dealt with them or work with them. You're not going to push it on a fucking step. That's assault and battery. You could go to jail for what you just did. You know what I'm saying? All the other moments where she makes these powerful, aggressive movements, it's to defend herself from either real or imagined threats, right? But with this, where she pushes Gina Gershon, she's getting a lot of shit from Gina Gershon, but Gina Gershon's not slicing her up or she's messing with her, but she's not doing these incredibly crazy things. So I don't know what the motivation was necessarily.
I mean, because
push her down the steps.
So apparently, Gina Gershon's character has a thing for Elizabeth Berkley,
right?
Wants to sleep with her. At one point, also, she tries to, she gets her that job for the $1,000 boat show that turns up to basically a prostitution thing thereafter.
Basically.
So you're getting $1,000 for the day and night.
Thanks, friend.
Yeah. But Gershon, I think before that, told her, basically gave her the game plan that she ultimately decides to take is you got to get rid of me if you want to be the star.
Right.
I can't remember exactly how she phrases it.
Yeah.
But that's what she says in essence. And then she does that. And then later on, when she shows up at Gershon's hospital room, Gershon completely fine with everything. She's like, darling, I told you. And then she recites the same exact thing again. So thereby relieving her of
any guilt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they have whatever scene and they kiss and she gives her hat. And you're like, I don't understand. Gershon may have told her this, but nobody wants to have a broken hip and fractured this and a... Mm-hmm.
I will say, and to anybody listening to us who's saying well, no, it's an allegory for Hollywood. Fuck off. It's not. It's trying to be, and it horribly fails.
But at the same time, I think it was just the laziest pitch meeting.
Yeah.
Where it's just this is what we're going for, and then we'll have her do this, and she moves up, and we can show a lot of tits, and bang, bang, boom. It's a cheap, production, and we're done.
And people have revisionist history about this film because a lot of actresses wanted this film, and they're all like, no, bullshit. I remember reading the articles of how many actresses were interested. I remember reading the fan magazines like Entertainment Weekly at the time, or whatever's out at the time, the movie magazines. A lot of these actresses were getting in shape and taking stripping classes and blah blah blah. So you could say what this film and striptease as well kind of motivated some of these people to do is to start teaching this as a form of exercise. So now you see it all the time with the S bar, the S club, whatever those things are called, where women are learning striptease moves as a way of getting in shape, as a way of seducing their men, as a way of also feeling powerful. One of my ex-agents, or managers rather, she does this. She posted on her Facebook wall, and we stopped being friends after we ended our management relationship, but she would post pictures of herself on fucking stripper poles at workout places.
Sure.
And then she actually put one in her living room. I have a friend who put one in their living room, and I was like, this is all very weird to me. It's all very weird to me. There are other ways that you can get in shape. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to do this. But I feel like these movies kind of pushed that national consciousness to be okay with strippers, to be accepting of them, all this kind of jazz. Whereas before, we kind of looked down on that kind of life. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting.
I think we still do collectively.
Yeah, well... Yeah. If we can accept the Kardashians, we kind of aren't that far away. You know what I'm saying? It's a sex tape. That whole thing's built on a fucking sex tape.
I agree. The whole empire is built upon that, which is impressive, but I think they've now collectively elevated above that to like it's thrown in Kim's face every once and again. But it's one of those of we're all now guilty for having fostered this entire family to become huge stars.
I agree with that.
That we can't really make fun of her anymore for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she wouldn't be at the place she was at, and the entire. I mean, she brought up. You don't want to talk about a high tide raises all ships.
Yeah.
She brought her entire family.
Yeah.
And some other people like stars and extraneous friends and shit like that elevated up.
I wouldn't be surprised if the cross-section voting for Trump or the cross-section watching the Kardashians. Like, I just would not be surprised. It can't be people of a certain level of intelligence. Just for me, I don't want to get too political, but to me, it just seems like there's a certain level of intelligence.
I think you'd be surprised by how many people have probably watched that over the years.
Yeah. I had a friend who did. And I couldn't understand why she was watching it. This is an intelligent woman who runs her own business. And I'm like, why are you watching this?
Because you can tune out.
I guess. They're so fucking annoying to me.
I've never watched a single second.
Oh, yeah. I dated a girl for like a month or two who watched. And so one night she was like, hey, all right, I'll sit through it. It was like a knife in my brain, dude. Their voices, what they're doing, the vapidity of their lives. I just was like, this is ridiculous, man. And so I don't understand how people can watch this shit.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree.
But then again, we'll watch Bloodsport, so whatever. We're dudes, so whatever. I'm sure they watch that shit and go, what the fuck?
Yeah, but I watched that with like a smile on my face.
Yeah, of course.
The badness of it is fantastic to me.
Yeah.
I couldn't sell somebody that's never seen it, didn't grow up with.
Right.
Why JeanClaude Van Damme is just a fucking badass, man.
Come on.
Guy that can wear the outfits he does and do like splits while he's dancing and stuff, and I'm still like, trust me, he fucking gets better. You know what I mean? He's better. Clad in leotards and thigh warmers.
Yeah.
And the start of which one is that? Double Identity or Double
Jeopardy, the one where he's with.
He's got his brother that comes in.
Yeah,
yeah, his twin that he never knew about. That movie's just so good.
Except they have both the same accent. They have the same
exactly. They have the same everything. It's fantastic.
I'll tell you, no lie. I went to see every Jean-Claude Van Damme film in the theaters after Bloodsport until The Quest. I saw The Quest and I was like, that's it. I'm done. I've thrown in the towel and I've never seen one in the theater since.
I've just cherry picked, but most of them I've seen. Yeah. He was a cable action superstar.
Oh, yeah. Lionheart, fucking.
So many of those movies I just watched as a kid.
Ooh, that might be fun for That might be fun for a Blunderdome. Although
I would call those Thunderdomes, personally. They're not blunders to me.
Under Siege versus Time Cop, or what would you put?
He's not an Under Siege. That's Steven Seagal.
No, I'm saying that's a competition. Yeah.
As a choice.
Yeah.
Well, Under Siege is Steven Seagal's like his best.
Time Cop is Van Damme's
one of his
best. It's considered Time Cop is considered Van Damme's best.
I wouldn't go that far.
You really wouldn't.
It's okay. I mean, it's good. I like others of his much better.
You enjoy the other ones of his.
Yeah,
more. Yeah, that's fair.
Bloodsport, I take over that every day of the week. It's not even close to me.
Over Under Siege.
Yeah. No. Over Time Cop.
Oh, over Time Cop. Yeah. Interesting. This is gonna be fun. That one could be fun. Those things could be fun. Anyway, is there? What else can we talk about the film? What else can we say about the film? What else can we shit on in the film?
You know what's weird is I did not remember Elizabeth Berkley goes full frontal.
Yes.
Like 2-3 times.
Yep.
And I did not remember that. I thought the camera cheated or they wouldn't quite show.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they did a close up or anything like that. It's a wide shot. But I didn't recall that happening. I was like, oh, Jesus, okay.
We're going to do that now.
Yeah, just upping the basic instinct.
Yeah.
You know, Sharon Stone swears that they weren't going to show, but I'm pretty sure.
After she lied about her brain cancer, I don't believe a word that comes out of that woman's mouth.
I don't believe that at all. In the slightest. Just they don't get that shot without your approval.
Would you even recommend this film to anybody?
No.
All right,
Fuck
good.
no.
I agree with that as well.
It doesn't make a lick of sense. It's not painful to watch because you almost want to see like what exactly do they do ultimately with this?
Right.
But it's just not fun.
No.
It's like a soulless cash grab.
Yeah.
That I just don't care about.
I would argue that Striptease is more fun because Burt Reynolds acting the fool in that film. And Demi Moore is actually sexier to me than Elizabeth Berkley. Even though she's got, obviously just had the boob job done beforehand, I still think her striptease is a lot more sexier than Elizabeth Berkley in Showgirls.
Yeah, I can't remember. I mean, I remember once again flashes of striptease, but I haven't seen it in so long.
Especially with Ving Rhames. There's some decent actors in there.
Well, yeah, you get Demi Moore, and she's still an A-lister at that point.
Yeah.
This is going to be, a big movie, or it should be.
Yeah.
Whereas Showgirls was like, it could. Yeah. Our production costs are low enough that we could turn a nice profit on this kind of thing.
And she didn't. And Elizabeth, it didn't do. It actually sank her career rather than elevate it.
Oh, 100%.
And every once in a while she'll show up in these random things.
I think I've seen her in one thing since, and she had like a small, part that wasn't revealed until a third or halfway through, and she kind of just facilitates the middle bridge of Act 2.
There are these actors that just don't like. They just can't get to that next level, acting wise. Like, she's serviceable as a TV actress, like totally, completely serviceable, but can't go past that, man.
Well, as a child TV actress,
no. I've seen
what
her.
Else?
She'll occasionally guest spot on TV shows. She'll do a character, and she does fine, but it's not anything to write home about. And so she's fine, dude. That's her level. Because I remember her in Curse of the Jade Scorpion, that Woody Allen movie. She had a little bit. She had a little bit of a part in it, and to see her playing against Allen, I mean, they're all just running rings around her, and you can see she's just trying to keep up. And it's just so obvious that you're just like, yeah, this is not your playfield. This is not your playground in any way, shape, or form. And it's just the way it is. Sometimes you just hit that level. You can't go higher than that. And so I think. For whatever reason, this is great for her. This ended up being great for her because she got to be a name off this. In some weird way, it kind of worked out for her, but it was really negative for a long time, and now people are a little more open about it.
Well, because now you say, Jesse from Saved by the Bell or Showgirls, and you go, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like a fresh, like, oh, yeah, she did that, piece of shit. Now they're just collective, like, oh, yeah, I remember her from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the thing. This movie came out 21 years ago.
Yeah, 21 years ago.
Jesus.
Lord.
Makes me feel old as shit. I did not realize it was 95. I knew it was 90s, but it's weird to see it in print.
Yeah.
When you stare at it, and you're like, this was 21 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
All right, well, that's our first Blunderdome. There you go.
There it is, yeah. Unless you just want to see boobs for...
Yeah.
I'd say like 60 minutes out of the 90 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
They're topless a ton. Because there's a bunch of dance sequence numbers, and she's at the strip club.
Yes.
And then going to the one dude's house, and it's movies.
There's nothing sexy, though. There's not really nothing. Even the scene in the pool where she's having sex with Kyle MacLachlan and like the water's hitting her face.
No, it's so
weird. It's like waterboarding. She's waterboarded.
Like possessed.
Yeah, she's possessed.
And she's gyrating on him that apparently Kyle MacLachlan is like swinging.
Yeah.
Because she is flying off of his body as she's like gyrating, pulling back and forth to where like
None of that looks pleasurable.
Or real.
Yeah, or real.
I'm watching this going, no, there's none of, no.
Yeah.
No one in the history of the world has had sex like that.
No.
Just watching it is just like, it doesn't happen. Plus, in a pool is no bueno. For those that don't know,
she's essentially waterboarding herself. By the way, she's
and the waterfall in her face, but on top of everything else, well, just like the rest of the movie. And then the next morning, she's never done drugs before, and there's just a pile of cocaine that no one addresses. We don't see MacLachlan doing coke; it's just there, and she just walks over and she does like she's done it a million times. She just scoops her nail underneath and then takes a little tootski and leaves. And you're like, you've never done drugs, and you just perfectly knew how to do drugs. Didn't ask him about it, just walked over and took his drugs.
It's all ridiculous.
Yeah, and then find out later, oh, no, she's a crackhead or former crackhead.
Right.
Who knows what else she's done. And you're like, okay.
Thanks for telling us all that later.
Yeah. Thanks for setting up the character 100% one way and then betraying it with 2 lines of dialogue.
Completely.
But then somehow make Berkley's acting choices make sense.
Yeah.
In a movie that makes no sense, which then, just... I don't know. It's such a train wreck. It's impressive.
It really is a terrible train wreck. And so there you go. All right. So we've destroyed it, I think, enough for this show. Thanks so much for everybody voting and then suggesting it. I guess voting for it and suggesting, I guess is the right ththing, right? And then listening to the show. And we'll come up with a new one for down the road, another Blunderdome down the road. As always, please follow us on Twitter at Top 10 Show. Follow us on Instagram at Top 10 Podcast. Follow Matt at Matt Nost. Follow me at The Roca Says. Anything else you want to tell them?
If you want to email the show, it's Top 10 Podcast, all spelled out at Gmail. And that's it for me.
Cool. All right. Thanks, guys.